We have with us the co-founder and Group CEO of MakeMyTrip, Rajesh Magow. Rajesh, welcome to PTI Video.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now let me begin by asking you, MakeMyTrip just reported its Q3 numbers with a 12% growth in net profit. Could you share the performance outlook for the coming quarters and what are the focus areas for the company?
Yeah, sure. So let's first talk about the quarter that we've reported, and then we'll come to the future outlook as well. So one highlight that you've already pointed out, that we've been actually making profitable consistently now, as we came out of COVID. But the other important, sort of highlight is also the top line growth, and that has been consistent as well. And that is on the back of two major factors. One, of course, the macro factor, which is the country growth rate, disposable income growing, overall income growing, and therefore disposable income growing, coupled with the fact that the consumer habit is changing in favor of spending more portion of the disposable income into travel and experiences. That's definitely helping. And the other important factor, which is specific to MakeMyTrip also, is that a lot of the new investment initiatives that we had taken about 2-3 years ago, some of them were actually right in the middle of COVID. As we've come out of it, as they are sort of gaining traction and scale, that's also contributing to the additional sort of growth for us. So I think it's a combination of the initiative that we had taken some time back and the macro trends, which is helping us deliver good results. Definitely higher growth rate than the market growth rate. Now talking about outlook, so if you see the trajectory so far, and if you again link it back to the overall country outlook, the recently Central Bank of India came out with the projection for next 2 years growth rate, which is about 6.7%, which is fairly robust. So I'm hoping that this growth rate continues, which effectively means that the macro positive trend will continue. And if that's going to be true, and the other factor that I just mentioned, the investment that we had made, reaching out to the new segments, reaching out through the new channels of growth, will also, there's still a lot of headroom for that. And that will also sort of continue. And we should hopefully be able to, sort of keep our trend of delivering higher growth rate than the industry growth rate should hopefully continue as well. I'll just add one more thing, just from a future outlook standpoint over the next couple of years. We are also looking at just adding some more products and services as well. Given the fact that we have a vision of being one-stop shop for travel use cases, all kinds of travel use cases, and over the years we have built pretty much all the travel use cases, but whatever is left, we will add more, and we have a pipeline for that. And then on the product and the innovation side, we are going to lead it with the new technology, Gen AI. We've started our journey, some time back, and we've made progress, and we are likely to sort of accelerate that as well.
Any new segments that you're looking at to consolidate your position further, new acquisitions maybe?
Well, I don't think there is going to be any new acquisition per se. I mean, again, in organic expansion strategy side, if you will, and if you go back our track record, we have looked at specific, sort of areas where we can invest, niche areas, either that is sort of helping build us the capability or adding a new product. We just recently announced, as part of our, sort of corporate business growth strategy, recently announced HapPay, the term sheet that we signed, and then we are hoping to consummate the transaction soon. That we have already done. Similarly, in the past, in the Forex space, we had made an investment. In the intercity cab space, we had made an investment in Savari. So we'll continue to keep that strategy, going as far as inorganic expansion or investment thesis is concerned for us. Wherever we see any specific, either capability build up, which we don't have, or we don't have plans to build up organically, or there is a niche segment that, that is out there with good team base, etc. And we see that we will definitely be evaluating it. So there's not going to be any change in that strategy. In terms of organic sort of growth, besides scaling up all the new initiatives that we have taken, like corporate business has been growing for us for a very healthy growth rate. Alternative accommodation, which is the homestays sort of business, we have come a long way in terms of just building the supply, getting the demand traction going. And a lot of the international use cases, whether it is outbound travel and within that, the booking, flight bookings, the hotel bookings and the packages booking, intercity cab that we've recently invested, we want to scale that up. So there are a bunch of things that we need to still scale them up because they are recent investments. And then we'll add probably, at least a couple of them that are there in the pipeline in terms of new products and services as well. One of them is activities and experiences in destination. The other one is cruises. And like I already mentioned, Forex, we still need to scale up. We also have Visa, we have, gone live with. So we want to bring in all the ancillary products as well. So look at a combination of, adding new products and services, scaling up where there's significant headroom, and last but not the least, making sure that the steady state business also continues to keep growing at a higher growth rate.
Now, the budget is upon us. Could you share your wish list for the hospitality sector to realize its full potential?
Yeah, before talking about the hospitality sector, in fact, there are many sort of outstanding demands that are out there. But I think the expectation on the overall budget will be, going with the trend of the country. The growth rate has been robust, and, the hope is that it should be growth-oriented budget, which effectively should set the tone for pretty much every sector, including travel and tourism sector for us as well. And within that, the long pending demand of hospitality sector of getting the industry status continues to remain. And I think, and it's an important one, for the overall industry. And the other sort of, maybe item on the wish list would also be, and government has been actually doing a great job of allocating a lot of money for the infrastructure investment, but that sort of is the backbone for travel and tourism industry as well. So if we continue to keep that pace, not only allocating, but also in terms of implementation, we continue to keep that pace on expanding highways, that, building new ones, the newer airports, the solving for connectivity, last mile connectivity, first mile connectivity. I think that'll be great because, then we don't lose out on the momentum that has been built over the last years. And there's a lot of, new areas where the investment is happening, specifically, let's say in the pilgrimage segment. Clearly, there is a lot of investment that is happening in creating a new destination, new experiences, etc. as well. So likewise, if we just keep it obviously, following up on our, sort of so far spend strategy on the infrastructure expansion, that is definitely going to help the momentum continuing for travel and tourism industry as well. And I think it's for overall India. If we end up sort of not losing the momentum on infrastructure spend, it's going to help the country.
But do you feel that the hospitality sector hasn't got the attention it deserves, considering its huge employment potential?
Yeah, I don't think I would like to say that. And the reason why I say that is that, overall travel and tourism and hospitality is part of, very much part of that ecosystem. If you really see, travel and tourism is being talked about a lot, right from the top, from the central government to various state governments and all of that. So, and a lot of these infrastructure investments that is also happening, it's also been helping the sector. I mean, look at the new, over the years, the new airports that have come in, and the new cities. Even the Udan scheme was really powerful scheme in terms of just, sort of expanding the connectivity with the smaller cities, etc. as well. And similarly, as part of that, obviously the hospitality sector, etc., and overall hospitality accommodation sector has also been growing. So having said all of this, I'm sure industry is looking for a lot more because, like you rightly pointed out, that it has huge potential. And therefore, we just keep going back with our sort of wish list, in various forums and trying to get the attention of the government as well. But the good news is that, there's been a lot of consultations, that take place. And if we are able to sort of just continue to keep showing the potential, I'm sure that will also fall in place at some point in time. But overall, I think we've made some good progress already on travel and tourism.
You mentioned generative AI. MakeMyTrip also has an AI chatbot, Myra, and it has been doing a lot of work to offer personalized experiences for those booking through the platform. Take us through your work and your future plans in this.
No, absolutely, and it's a very critical, very strategic focus area for us. We started our journey few quarters ago. In fact, I would say before Gen AI, a lot of the work on AI and ML was already happening because we had rich data in any case with us. And like you rightly pointed out, one of the manifestation of that was going to be personalized experience, and which is what it is continuing. And then the other areas where it is going to benefit us has already been benefited. Again, we've gone live with some of those use cases internally as well, where there's going to be productivity improvement and more efficiency gains for the organization as well. But large part of our focus is to improve the customer experience and take it to the next level. So many, you mentioned about Myra chatbot. Myra chatbot is actually, we have got multiple sort of chatbots, if you will. Eventually, we want to consolidate and integrate all of them into one. But flight use case, there is a chatbot. There is a after-sale service, use case where there is a chatbot that you can interact with the chatbot and get your questions answered. Similarly, last quarter we just launched for hotel product as well, and we will continue to keep doing this journey. There are two areas where the way to see the progress will be twofold. One will be looking at what are the new initiatives, new features that we are adding. And the two, which is to my mind more important, is that how intelligent this bot is becoming. Over a period of time, and the new models keep coming because this has huge potential. The Gen AI has huge potential. We've got a lot of data, and then potentially we can get a lot more data from the other sources as well. For us to be able to make the bot really intelligent, one part of it is that it will be an alternative user interface, right? So instead of regular funnel of booking or the customer journey, you can use the bot and you can complete the journey there. But can you do it with, let's say, voice input? Can you do it with vernacular more efficiently? Can you do a combination of the two? You end up speaking and giving commands and you end up responding. And maybe the other way around as well, right? Just the voice bot, in terms of just getting the responses also, you get, voice coming back from the other side rather than just the text, right? So those are the areas that we should watch out for. We've been working really relentlessly on that, building our own capabilities, working with partners for us to be able to sort of collaborate and get the best out of it. And you'll see more and more of this coming up. I would say just overall, whatever you would see potentially in terms of just the customer experience enhancement going forward, I think it'll be fair to say that a lot of it is going to be powered by AI.
Now, inbound tourism for India hasn't grown the way it should have. It's yet to return to the pre-COVID levels. What do you think needs to be done to revive the inbound tourism numbers? And when do you see them return to the pre-COVID levels?
Yeah. No, I think it's a good observation. I think it has lagged behind. Especially when we now see all other segments have come back, and not only come back, are growing and thriving, right? For us at MakeMyTrip, our inbound, sort of humble initiative is a lot more focused on Indian diaspora first. and not necessarily foreign tourists. So, so otherwise a lot of our business comes from domestic travel and Indian travelers going abroad, right? So that is the international part. So a small portion is coming from inbound. And there we ended up sort of opening the platform access, becoming GDPR compliant some time back to more than 150 countries. And now we see that inbound diaspora sort of booking on our platform. Our brand is already known to them because it's an Indian brand and they would be aware directly or indirectly about the brand. And that's sort of helping. And I do think that, out of the total inbound market, that also is a sizable market because a lot of the Indians have gone and living all over the world, and they end up doing for, coming back home more than once sometimes, depending upon, sort of the need and the affordability. But more and more the frequency is increasing, not necessarily to only coming and back home and visiting family or friends, but also doing the domestic trip in the process, right? So I think that will be an important segment. And if we are able to, in terms of your second part of the question, what is that we can probably do to push? To my mind, I think what is needed perhaps is to, because everything else we've got, and we've made progress in terms of infrastructure development, improving the experience on ground, whether it's the airports or it's the, on the ground experience, the highway connectivities, etc. I think we just need perhaps a refreshed campaign to create lot more awareness about all that what has been happening in India, specific to travel and tourism, keeping specifically travel and tourism sort of destinations in mind, and dial that up. Dial the communication up, maybe a refresh in Incredible India kind of a campaign, which we end up communicating it to the rest of the world, just to maybe address the apprehensions, maybe just to bring the freshness back in everybody's mind in terms of what is that India has got to offer. I think it's been a while that we've done that. And if we are able to sort of just maybe industry working together with government and tourism boards, if we are able to just come up with that and do it consistently, I think things should start to fall in place, because all the other factors have now opened up, the connectivities, the airlines, the visas, etc. All of those important ingredients, but have started to fall in place. So I just think maybe this is the additional effort that perhaps would make the difference.
On the visa side, you feel there's a need to ease the visa processes to offer visa on arrival to more countries?
I think so. I mean, subject to obviously, you have to look at the security and safety aspect of it. But what we have seen, like from our experience, let's say Indian travelers traveling out, whichever country has been able to just make the visa access very, very easy and very, very convenient, that country has benefited hugely in terms of just attracting Indian tourists. So I think vice versa is true as well, right? For us also, if we are focused on bringing a lot of the foreign tourists to India, we also need to make sure that the visa operations, just the application of visa, just the entire process is very frictionless and seamless and convenient for various countries, so that we are able to sort of attract a lot of tourists here. Visa and connectivity, which is effectively flight connectivity in the case of international use case. If visa and connectivity are two most important sort of factors for any destination to grow, or so I think you're absolutely right. I think we've been doing it, and if we can do more, why not?
Spiritual tourism is booming, and the government is also focusing on this area.
Yeah.
How do you view this segment?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question, actually. So we've been seeing and our numbers are reflecting as well. And the way it starts from our, and we start analyzing and we start to think that this will be an emerging and an important segment for us, is first the traffic and just the interest level growing. Like, on our platform, when we see the number of searches for a particular pilgrimage city growing, then you could tell, and consistently, if they have been growing, not necessarily only event-based, then you could tell that this is an emerging segment and this is going to be a permanent scenario. And we are seeing that in case of pilgrimage. So I do think that this has huge potential. The other very important thing that is also happening is that it's not necessarily, it's not one city. Two, maybe a couple of interesting things that is happening in this segment. One, pilgrimage travel and use case is it has no season. This actually goes on pretty much, every single month of a year, if you will, right? Because there's no, except maybe there are, auspicious dates, etc., and all of that. You'll have more rush, but otherwise people can travel pretty much, the entire year, right? So there's no seasonality per se in this. The second important thing also is that all kinds of customer segments are traveling. The lower middle class to upper middle class to HNIs have started to explore pilgrimage destinations, not necessarily only with an intent of being there, as a pilgrimage trip, but also to explore, history, culture, and deep-rooted sort of, pilgrimage routes, if you will, right? So, and as long as it becomes like a broad-based travel experience, people are enjoying it and people are, looking at this segment like that. So, if you see some of these things, and it's happening consistently, Ayodhya is a good example of that. Ayodhya, because there was an event, so there was a lot of demand. But then after that also it has continued. So because the city is developed, the overall experience is good and people wanting to go there, and connectivity is solved. A lot of hospitality companies have shown interest in building up hotels there. So you see consistently that demand, just sort of staying there. I mean, the city is able to sustain that demand. And so therefore, I think all things are pointing towards that this is going to be a permanent sort of trend, which is emerging right now, but it might become permanent, where this could also be one of the travel use cases, apart from leisure, business, etc., that will be important for people to travel.
Live tourism is another area that's catching a lot of attention, events, the Coldplay concert, for example.
Yeah.
How do you view this segment that's fast emerging, its potential?
Yeah, it's actually linked to, again, a great question, right? So it's linked to the point I was making earlier, that a lot of or good portion of the disposable income is going into travel and experiences. The overall experiences, sort of area, if you will, and travel is definitely right up there. Then comes the entertainment. Within entertainment, concerts will be definitely one of them. Then there is, of course, movies and so on, right? So clearly we see that trend. And we see the trend sort of growing. And we can see just factual data, right? The number of concerts that have happened last year as against the concerts that were happening in the past, right? And we definitely travel also. The good news is the travel gets the indirect benefit of that, right? So it's not that people are, if the concert is happening in Ahmedabad, so the people are only, going from Ahmedabad or, in and around Ahmedabad to see. People are going from Delhi, Bombay as well to Ahmedabad because they couldn't see it in Bombay. And some people were telling me some people actually went to Abu Dhabi to see the concert as well. So clearly, travel will be the sort of indirect beneficiary of that as well, both from a transport standpoint as well as hospitality. I think it's likely to stay. More and more we are able to do the improvement on content and also the experience. The more we focus on just providing very good experience, which is from end to end, from booking of the event to to actually on the ground, the day the event is happening, the logistics around it, just the venue experience, the reaching to the venue experience, parking, and so on and so forth. If we are able to just to do a good job at providing the experience, you will see this growing. This becoming as permanent feature for people to sort of just spend money on.
Travel has become an integral part of the contemporary Indian lifestyle. Do you feel there's a need for higher disposable income in the hands of individuals to increase discretionary spend and boost consumption and also create more jobs through travel and tourism?
Yeah, I would say, the spend on travel is going to be the natural outcome of growing income and the disposable income, and which is what we've been sort of experiencing. So being in the industry, obviously the thinking will be, the wish will be that the country should first keep growing. And, I guess, all of us as Indians would want India to grow, and been doing a phenomenal job as compared to the rest of the world, and offers huge potential. So if we are able to, it will start from the top. The first overall GDP growth has to continue. And then from there, obviously, the employment generation happens. And then from there, the incomes rise, other markets do well, all sectors do well, and then you have disposable income in your pocket. So I think it's just going to be that full cycle, that has to play out. One of the things that doesn't work or that fails, then I guess there will be an impact, in the rest of the chain as well, right? So I think the outlook, if you really see, and the position that India is today, with the fact that we have a huge amount of demographic dividends still left, as compared to many advanced countries where they have lost the dividend or in the process of losing the demographic dividend in terms of, the age of the population. Everything else, if we are able to sort of execute on our strategies as planned, things should fall out. So if you look at it from that perspective, outlook looks quite positive. Goes without saying that, one, of course, the macro events, don't throw any kind of a surprise on us, and two, we will have to just do a good job on execution as well.
Now, I'd like you to share some insights on the opportunities and challenges for India's hospitality sector. Do you also see some potential downsides that we need to be watchful for that could negatively affect the sector's performance?
Yeah, in terms of opportunities, we spoke about some, and the opportunities are directly linked to the overall, sector growing, right? Huge amount of opportunities, not necessarily in the urban areas, but also semi-urban areas, and some interesting maybe smaller cities as well, right? Depending upon which segment are you talking about. And if you bring in overall accommodation, there will be opportunities for alternative accommodations, like villas and the, let's say apartments, hostels, etc. as well, right? So I think there is tremendous amount of opportunity. If you compare it with the maybe few years in the past, there's tremendous amount of opportunity right now in front of us, and it's likely to continue.
Final word, if you could share your top travel recommendations for Indian travelers, must-visit destinations both domestically and internationally in 2025?
Well, there are plenty of them, and I don't want to bring in my personal bias into it. But what I would say out here is that, let's say in India, in general, India has not been fully explored. And therefore, if I can say so, then not necessarily, the most popular destinations, I think Indians should try and explore the unexplored destinations. There are plenty of them. And, now the infrastructure is improving, connectivity is improving, and so on. So don't necessarily only focus on, the top 10 destination, maybe just continue to keep exploring. If you're taking 4 holidays, maybe at least take 1 holiday there. That would be the directional point that I will make. Because there are hidden gems, in India. It's quite unexplored.
If you could name a few, that must
See, I'll tell you, I mean,
destinations.
up in the hills, like if you think about, let's say, Uttarakhand hills, right? And so there will be, the popular destinations in Nainital, and then, you go up in, further up, then you will start to sort of see beautiful sort of hill destinations, well, smaller, but very good. The good thing is that, you will have, because there are homestays, alternative accommodations available that you could possibly there will reasonably good stay places available as well. Similarly, I think international, like give you some examples where Indians already started exploring, where, earlier if let's say Singapore, Thailand were the places to go, post-COVID, they started exploring Azerbaijan, the Turkey, the Greece, and Portugal is another destination, Spain is another destination. They started to explore, relatively speaking, more than, just the regular destinations, let's say the Germanys and the Frances of this world, right? So I think that is, that might be just maybe directionally, because you will just experience more, and people are already doing it.
Rajesh, thank you so much for speaking to PTI Video. Pleasure having you with us.